Mabel won the 1995 King of the Ring in a tournament that had Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. This is the guy that won. This f***ing guy. He looks like a giant plum. This is often heralded as one of the worst pay-per-views ever produced by WWE. It was a financial disaster, boring as a cow, and infamously hijacked by unruly ECW fans. It was the worst pay-per-view in a very bad year for Vince's Palace of Malice, an absolutely all-round bollock of a show. I'm Plumpy from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 fascinating facts about King of the Ring 1995. Number 10. Pedro Morales no-showed the Hall of Fame ceremony, but before they moved it to WrestleMania weekend, the WWE Hall of Fame was a quieter little ceremony, as quiet as a party with old wrestlers and booze can be. The 1995 class was inducted before King of the Ring and included Ernie Ladd, Antonio Rocca, George the Animal Steele, and others. Also inducted was Pedro Morales, the first Triple Crown winner in WWE history, aka winning World, Intercontinental, and Tag Team titles. He also became the first and only living wrestler to skip out on the ceremony. He was working as Spanish announcer for WCW and didn't want to risk his job by being there for his own induction. That's a shame. Number 9. Razor Ramon was cut from the tournament with injury. Despite the fact it was won by a legit plum, 95's tournament was set to be star-studded. Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Yokozuna, and at one time, Razor Ramon. Sadly, Ramon was cut from the final 8 when he was forced to step aside with a legitimate rib injury. To rectify this, Savio Vega vs IRS as a qualifying match was hastily booked to open the show and announce the weekend of the pay-per-view. Number 8. ECW banners were confiscated before the show. King of the Ring 95 took place in Philadelphia, home of mental boys with mental toys, Treehouse Extreme Championship Wrestling. At the time, the WWF was still hammy and cheesy, outgrown by the young adult fan base of ECW. Some fans still attended, and they brought ECW signs with them. It should be little surprise that the majority of the signs were confiscated by security. Number 7. A special appearance from some future stars. You know what King of the Ring has plenty of? Tat. Stupid crowns, and stupid scepters, and stupid capes, and stupid thrones. God, who dresses a king? Whose parents would let their child, who has a journalism degree, dress as a king? Amongst the silly props at this year's pay-per-view was a pair of royal squires who would stand either side of a royal door, I guess. Those squires were Matt and Jeff, the Hardy Boys. The following night at the Raw tapings, Jeff would job out to Waylon Mercy, whilst Matt put over Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Number 6. It was Taker's first televised pinfall loss in 3 years. One of the reasons why Iggy the Grave Diggy Piggy lasted so long in the WWE is because his character was always carefully protected. During the early years of his run, he seldom, if ever, was pinned by another wrestler, and almost never clean. This time around, he'd be pinned by Mabel in the opening round to give Mabel the kind of momentum that would make his win acceptable. Didn't work. That was Undertaker's first televised pinfall loss in 3 goddamn years. The last man to pin him was Obscopter's Hulk Hogan at this Tuesday in Texas in December 1991. Otherwise, Undertaker wins, lol. Number 5. Vince McMahon misheard an ECW chant. So you've got a tournament with former WWE champion The Undertaker, former WWE champion Yokozuna, and one of the best to ever lace a pair of boots, Shawn Michaels, and your grand final is Savio Vega versus Mabel. Then son, you have done up. And the Philadelphia crowd more than agreed. Growing increasingly restless with the slow match featuring a plum and the man formerly known as Quang, vocal pockets of the crowd began to chant for ECW. Not recognizing the strange sound of audible passion at a 1995 pay-per-view, Vince shouted, "Listen to this!" before he realized they were chanting for another promotion, and then he changed the goddamn subject. Number 4. Shawn Michaels spoils that he's not winning. HBK was a precocious little sod. His chums backstage just wanted to pinch his cheeks, tousle his hair, and occasionally batter the piss out of him in the showers with socks full of batteries. He had a habit of taking things a little far in his showboating, and that extended to accidentally signposting that he was not going to be that night's king. It's been cut from the network version of the pay-per-view, but as he made his way down to the ring for his time limit draw against Karma, this guy brilliant pay-per-view this was. He went to the royal props bit and tried on the crown for size, only to discover it was miles too big for his head, because it was designed for the much larger-headed Mabel. Nice job, Shawn. Number 3. What was in Jerry Lawler's puke? That's a question that's worth asking. Christ, this pay-per-view, just let me die. So one of the quote highlights of the show was a kiss my foot match between Bret Hart and Jerry Lawler. The loser had to have his opponent's foot shoved in his mouth. Despite soaking his foot in manure for several weeks, the king lost and was forced to deep-throat the Hitman's tootsies in what was undoubtedly a career highlight for both lucky men. So disgusted was Lawler at the toenail tonsil tag team that he coughed and spluttered and then did a little comedy sick. The components of that sick? Soda and graham crackers. crackers. Hell, this pay-per-view's so bad I can't even find 10 fascinating facts about it. Number 2, it was the only King of the Ring pay-per-view without a title match. How much was this show? Did they give it away for free? Did they pay people to watch this? Does it count towards your community service? What better way to really warm up the crowd than by having a pay-per-view with absolutely 0 titles on the line? Diesel didn't put his WWF Championship on the line, instead wrestling a tag match with Bam Bam Bigelow against Psycho Sid and Tatanka. Jeff Jarrett didn't put his IC title on the line, he didn't even wrestle, just accompanied the roadie to ringside because the roadie was in the King of the Ring tournament, but Jarrett wasn't. That makes sense. Owen Hart and Yokozuna were tag champs, and Zuna was occupied with his tournament match. Alundra Blaze was women's champion, but this wasn't one of the 3 times you actually got to see that belt on TV. Now hurry up, I want this to stop. And number 1, for a time, it was the least bought WWE pay-per-view ever. Because of course it was. Course it was. WWE had been doing pay-per-views for 10 years, and in those 10 years, this was the lowest it had ever been at a measly 150,000 buys. There'd be lower buy rates to come, of course. December to Dismember famously drew 90,000 buys, a buy rate so low that they got Paul Heyman fired. But after 10 years in the business, King of the Ring 1995 represented an all-time low for the Fed, creatively and financially. I'm glad this is over.
'Cause this is my time, I don't ever quit. This is my life, I will never submit. Burn every bridge, climbing straight to the top. Let me out of this cage and show me what you got. Yeah, yeah, built to destroy. Yeah, yeah, built to destroy. That's right. Yeah, yeah, built to destroy. Yeah, yeah, built to destroy. That's right.